Hi everyone. I know I said I was gonna do something Friday with updates and stuff like that. But some pressing information came out today, and I'm sorry, I know I look like heck with no makeup, my dark circles and everything, but there was something so pressing and so important that I had to bring to people's attention because this is like so ridiculous how corrupt the Florida courts are. I can't even express that any more than that is. My four grandchildren, just a little bit about it. My four grandchildren were taken into dependency in the state of Florida out of Panama City, Bay County, Florida, in 2016. I have been fighting to adopt my grandchildren ever since. My daughter signed them over to me through an adoption intermediary attorney, and DCF has had it against me ever since I said I am going to fight you for my grandchildren. They ended up giving them all four children to the paternal violent grandparents who was just trying to secure them for her son. And then the exact month she found out he was going to jail in 2019 for 7 years, she gave them back that month back to DCF. They allowed her to take them to Texas from Florida. And my daughter's attorney kept lying to her. I don't know where the kids are. When we finally got the court records, when the case was finished, a couple years later, it was found out that there was an ICPC done. And if anyone doesn't know what an ICPC is, Interstate Compact for the Placement of Children. And that is basically one state talks to another state. So when children are in dependency, they're followed by case managers in foster care. If that child needs to go out of state for some reason, that has to be a continuation of foster care case management. And I know there's more details to it and everything, but basically it's initiated. What generally will happen is investigator from that locale to the which is of the new locale. What they will have to do is do a home study, talk with you, all of that, background checks, fingerprints, stuff like that. So it was in there. He knew all along that those children were moving to Texas, but kept lying to us because that's what the judicial system is in Florida. And if you all don't know that, that is in every county, every single one. The judges are as corrupt as the lawyers are. Don't ever think that they're not. So I, because I was denied an intervention, they didn't want me knowing what was going on behind the scenes because they're corrupt. So I'm sorry, I'm trying not to cry because this has been a 10-year heartbreaking battle. Okay. Um, my husband and I are clean. We have no criminal records. We own two houses. We have decent funds. We passed so many background checks. My husband has a federal license. I have a state license that pretty much says we're not crappy people. Okay. Um, as far as we knew that the kids were adopted in 2020. And we were always given the assumption by everyone that they were going to be adopted by the monster family. And I'm going to call them monsters because they're all abusive. They're all abusive. And, but because she was in that county and it was for children, they were able to keep collecting that money for that county for 4 children in care. All right, so fast forward, we went there to we went to her house in Texas to bring the children gifts. When they were adopted, they stopped accepting them, but I buy them gifts. I buy my entire family throughout the whole year. Things are on good sale or whatever, and I store them in a closet. And so I had like bags and bags, like those big canvas bags full of Christmas presents for my grandkids that I intend to send them in a box because I was not allowed to send any gifts directly to the children. I had to send them to the DCF office, and the DCF office had to deliver them. So that meant, like, if I wanted to send them things through Amazon with free shipping, I couldn't. I had to spend 30, 40, $50 every month for a box for them. But in late 2020, I believe it was, late 2020, the gift box was sent back unopened, and I was never told why. But what it is the adoptive parents just didn't want any part of me or the gifts I was sending them. But that's because everything is all tied into DCF. You have to kowtow to them if you want to adopt the kids, if you want to foster the kids, and everything like that. And not that I'm saying that this foster parents are good parents, because I don't. I think they're just as garbage as everyone else in this business. Um, because the abuser family is allowed an open adoption contact. Although, if you look at it, if a parent's rights are terminated, the grandparents' rights are terminated. That's why I have no contact with my grandchildren. But her, she has contact with them. Although, the minute her son was released after 7 years in prison for attacking a police officer, trying to run them over, and beating up a K-9 officer, she took him went into her Texas home because the kids aren't there anymore. She actually wasn't the one who adopted them. So he's in jail again, not even a year after being released for abusing, I don't know, a family member or something. It's pretty bad. A bunch of felony charges. But that woman and her son were able to have contact with my grandchildren. Uh, Felonious drug addict enabling parent is allowed to. Now, my daughter, who lost custody and her parental rights, she's doing wonderful. She's got a good job. She hasn't been in and out of jail. Um, she's really turned around her life. She has an excellent job. And she's in a good relationship and all of that. And she has 2 dogs. She's very responsible for them, and she has her own place. She's doing great. um but for the other family, they're just garbage, and that's how it is. So we didn't know who adopted the kids. 2 years ago, when we were moving out of state, I'm not going to say what states. I mean, obviously, I have a house in Florida. Um, all of that was taken care of in Florida. But we did move many, many states away. And due to my husband's job, which is, federally regulated, and he has a good job with pretty decent income, and I was a full-time student. So we moved here, we bought a house. At the same time, literally the same day, I think I reached out to a real estate agent to look into purchasing a house here. We got a call that I had missed the call, and I called them back, and it was DCF, someone in their agency, like doing a relative locator. And oh, they're so happy they found me, that I wanted to adopt my grandson, because I do. I will never stop wanting to adopt any of my grandchildren. But so it happens that the foster adoptive parents, who in Leon County, who uh one of the woman that's in her 30s, late 30s, I think it is. She's a police officer. I think it's a part-time police officer, but she's still a police officer with a legal background. And her husband's like 20 something years older than her. So I don't know if he ever had children, but you would think these two people would know how to handle children, even children with behavior problems. And children that have been stripped away from their parents are going to have behavioral problems. Now, if you've seen my any of my other videos, you will see that although I don't have bipolar, it's genetic in my family. I have children that are bipolar. I have a mother that's bipolar. And I am so well trained in that. And I've told DCF that I have training. I know where to take children. I know how they need to, um, how their IEP needs to be, all of that. And I know how to deal with, children that have outbursts and types of problems with, uh, with this illness. And I told them that I had experience with bipolar children. Now, I don't know if my grandson has bipolar. I don't know that. Um, but it is genetically possible. So they contacted me, and oh, they were jumping for joy. All the caseworkers, his gal, all of those people were just jumping for, we're jumping for joy that you want to adopt sorry, Susan, that you want to adopt your grandson, because he's been in a group home for quite some time. How long, I don't know. They contacted me in 2024. He was adopted in 2020. When he was given back, I don't know if annulment was done or abrogation or something like that. I'm not quite sure what was done, because these are all sealed secret records. They can't tell you. Anyways, they were jumping for joy. So they said, "Oh, will we talk to your grandson, and he wants you to do impersonal visits." Now, mind you, um, it's probably about a 14-hour drive to where he's at from where we live in our new house, and that's fine. I mean, I said we'll come down every month. That's not a problem. They set up a day 2 years ago. I believe this was going on March of 2024. They set up a date and said, "Hey, let's just work it out through the group home, the visitation, and we'll get back to you." And they said, "But we talked to your grandson, and he wants you to come see him." Okay. So, and this is typical DCF. They'll sit on things and they'll blow you off for weeks. Now, my husband had taken the time off because we were gonna take about 4 days off to do the drive, visit, to come back, all with the intention of adopting him. In the process, we were looking at homes to buy. We eventually bought a 3/4 bedroom. This is my office, which is a fourth extra room. It could be a bedroom. Um, However, we had two extra bedrooms, so we bought him a bed and a TV and a game system and all kinds of stuff, expecting that we would be able to do an ICPC and get him within a couple months, and do visits in the interim. Well, they blew us off. They blew us off when I said, "Look, my husband's got the time off. Just let us know where we're gonna go." Blew us off. Blew us off. Days. Maybe a week or two later, we finally heard back. I don't remember the timeline. It could have been 5 days. It could have been 8 days. I don't remember, but well, we've decided, and we talked with your grandson, and we've decided that visits are not in his best interest right now. And then they just blew me off. So we finally bought the house and everything, and so I contacted them a couple months later, like May of 2024, and they were like, "Yeah, no, we're not gonna proceed with you adopting him, having any visits with him, or basically any contact with him." And I'm like, "Why?" Well, this is funny because these people are not bright. They just have so many corrupt courts behind them and judges behind them that aren't bright either. Because I'm going to take them down. If it's the last thing I do, I'm going to take down the Florida judiciary if it's the last thing I do. Anyways, so I get an email, and it says, and it's from the gal, my grandson's gal, and she's like, let's not, basically say anything or give her any information due to her background. Well, they removed me from the group of emails, but they didn't remove my husband. And I also was getting my husband's email because I handle all of his business. As his wife, he works hard, and I am home as a student, so I'm able to handle. I mean, I'm the one that did all the paperwork and everything, and fought to buy the houses and vehicles and the two RVs that we have paid off, and I do everything. I do all of that. I do all the court documents. I do all the billing, everything. Um, and I'd say it's pretty successful considering we have two houses and, like I said, two paid off RVs, two cars in the driveway that are pretty decent vehicles. And, um, I was able to fund, even though I went pro se in my 1983 case that's still pending in the appellate court, waiting for another case to finish. Uh, that cost, just with all the mailing, because you're not able to do everything e-filing. That is not allow pro se people in federal courts to e-file. So all the mailings and the service of process for 25 people, all together cost over 5 grand. And they don't care. They just don't care. So I filed more complaints with the head of DCF in Florida. Really didn't hear anything. So I said, I'm not going to get anywhere. So, and DCF refuses to give me any case information for me to file to adopt him because I said, give me the case information. Well, you're not party to the case, so blah, blah, blah. We're not giving you anything. This is after they got busted, you know, sending things like, we shouldn't let her know anything for her background that actually went to my husband's email. And they're like, background, what background? What background? What's my background? Come on. What's my background? They could not answer that. Why? Because I don't have a background other than I am a bitch who will fight you for your corruption, and I won't take it sitting down. So, anyways, I know I have to learn how to do this. And I know I did, get this for my birthday, a stream deck. And my sons have to teach me how to use this so I can show you documents. But still in the box. My birthday was like 3 weeks ago. But everyone's just been really busy. Life is just super busy and crazy. Um, but so I want to tell you, I did file in March of this month to adopt my grandson. and it is a sealed record, so there's nothing on here. But I just want to show you that I don't know if you can see, but this is, file documents of existing case. It's got the case number. It doesn't have my grandson's name on it, so that's okay. All right. And then this next letter is from Leon County. And this is telling me that I filed a new case on May 13th and that I had to pay a filing fee because this was a new case, initial case, which is fine. I paid that. So this should be an a new adoption case. So I paid the fee, and then I sent a letter saying, basically to the court, asking them, all right, so am I going to be e-filing? What exactly am I going to be doing? Is this going to be e-file situation? Because they had emailed me needing that, or was I going to get stuff in the mail, or how is this going to go? So, and I also put in an ex parte hearing to adopt my grandson because I said he's been in a group home, I'm going to guess 4 years now, and it's against the law. When there is basically grandparents that want to adopt and they're legitimate grandparents, and we are. There's nothing wrong with us. But they hate us because I have fought them and sued them along the way. No, I always lose. Why? Why do I always lose in appeal courts and stuff? Because they're corrupt. All the way up to the Supreme Court, they're corrupt. But if you read anything in here, and ICPC would have to be done. But so what is it? Here's an article that says, uh, why does an ICPC have to be done for like grandparents or relatives out of state? Because it's the law. Two federal laws, the Adoption and Safe Families Act and the Safe and Timely Interstate Placement of Foster Children Act, requires states to consider interjurisdictional placements and can penalize agencies that do not comply. Okay, so I tried to set up e-filing yesterday. I found out the case is closed. I called the clerk today in Leon County, Florida, which is where Tallahassee is. And they told me the case was closed and it was rolled into the dependency case. And I'm going to tell you why that's illegal in a minute. But let me say this, they took my $400. I also requested in my filings that it be ex parte, not only ex parte, that if anything, I would like visitation, and that I was also requesting ex parte visitation and an intervention into the dependency case. Now, I was told by the clerk. When I sent in my $400 filing fee, I sent in a letter to the clerk saying, "How is this going to be transferred, the filings, all the documents and stuff?" And they told me, "We will be emailing you." Well, I'll only receive two emails from Leon County. One was saying, "Hey, you owe us $400 and we will send you to collections if you don't pay." And B was a response that we will be emailing you all the court documents. That's all I received was those two. The clerk said, "Oh, the case was closed and your case was merged into the dependency case." Now, I don't know if you all noticed, but in that case type, it says adoption chapter 63 adoption. Remember that. 63 adoption. So the clerk told me, "We mailed you the closed case? Did you? Because I haven't seen it in my mailbox, and I was told I was going to get everything from email, right? Do you think they sent it to me? I am going to guess that it's not in my mailbox. I'm going to go double check again because it said in June. And I know it can take some time, and with the holidays, if they did it at the end of June, maybe it's in the mailbox. Although I do get notifications when I get mail, and I haven't, so we'll see if it's in there. I gotta go tomorrow, anyways, to renew it, get a new key, and all of that because we lost it. But I haven't gotten any notice in the past 2 weeks that I have any mail in that mailbox. But I will go and I will see. I can guarantee you it's not there. Why? Because that's the tricks they do. They don't notify you when they close out cases. They don't notify you when they terminate your rights. Like my daughter. My daughter's rights were terminated by Anna Maria Garcia. Anna Maria Garcia out of Bay County. And she was never notified by the courts. And in she finally found out that was in July of 2019. She found out in January, 6 months later. Finally, her lawyer got back to her after she called him, sent him letters, emailed him numerous times. It was all for her to be able to lose her ability to appeal within a timely manner. She filed a writ of mandamus. I'm not quite sure how that's pronounced, and maybe someone can let me know which way it's pronounced. Um, regarding her lack of appeal. She was not able to because it was too late. You have 30 days from the date of the order, and the order was in July, so she had till August. She didn't find out until 6 months later. So the court answered her. The Supreme Court answered her and said, I'll go around when something like this happens, uh, which is generally a lawyer's basically malpractice, and he should not be practicing. Christopher Scott should not be practicing law because that was all intentional. The lies about where the children were, the ICPC, and him not telling my daughter that her rights were terminated. He should be disbarred. And I'm not going to end until he is. I'm not going to end until he is, and possibly in jail, because eventually people will catch wind. Eventually, all these lawyers will be brought up for corruption. Hopefully by the FBI or whomever, and they're all going to go down once everything is found out. Once our government gives a damn, it will all come out. And so I'm not believing the fact that I haven't heard and got a letter as an accident. I believe it's all a violation of my due process. And they took the $400. So I'm thinking that's fraud too. They took the $400 and merged it into a new case. Yeah, I'm thinking that's fraud too. So, anyways, I did some research. I'm pretty good at research. I've been good at research since I was an office manager 100 years ago in Boston. But found an article by a lawyer who filed a case and won. It says, can Florida grandparents adopt a child who is in permanent guardianship? That's the article. Now, this isn't just Florida grandparents. This is like any grandparents, really. Because, like I said, it's the law. Um, but basically, I'm just going to skip to, chapter 63. Let's see. All right, let's see. Contrary to the child's best interest is a meaningful protection, but not final. Let's see. Okay, so biological parents retain their parental rights. The dependency court retains jurisdiction over the case. And child's becoming okay. Adoption under Chapter 63 is different. Now, remember, it's in Chapter 63. When a Florida court grants an adoption, the biological parent's rights are permanently terminated. So my grandparents' rights were already terminated, but that's not really what this matter is. Okay. I do I am trying to find and in a chapter 63, in many cases there's no home study requirement, although I had some done in the past. Okay, so basically this firm represented a set of paternal grandparents that raised their grandson since birth. Now, I raised my grandchildren. They lived in the house with me. Of the four children, only two were related to the paternal grandparents they went to. The older two were not. My oldest grandson's the one that I'm still fighting for. Until this Keystone Cop decides she doesn't want any of them because they're not cute little kids anymore. They're bratty teenagers and she can't handle them. Okay. So the dependency court had closed the case to permanent guardianship with the grandparents. Rather than accepting the guardianship as a permanent endpoint, the grandparents filed a private adoption petition under Chapter 63 in Hillsborough County Family Court, which is in the Tampa area. Seeking to terminate the biological mother's parental rights on the basis of abandonment and finalize the adoption. Doesn't really matter what the reason is or how the termination is. Chapter 63 happens and can done. So the biological mother moved to dismiss the petition, argued that the dependency court's retention of jurisdiction meant that the Hillsborough County Family Court had no authority to hear a prior domestic violation injunction required dismissal. Okay. So basically that's saying it's a dependency court. So you can't adopt because it's, private adoption because it's in dependency court. Well, this is what I'm trying to do is a private adoption. Why the court ruled the way it did. This is supposed to show you that Leon County judge is either corrupt AF, I think you know what that means, or as dumb as a box of rocks. Because if you don't know this law that was in 2022, then you're a moron. Okay, so Florida has two entirely separate statutory pathways for terminating parental rights. One is under Chapter 39, which is what the Department of Children and Families uses a dependency proceeding. The other is under Chapter 63, which governs private adoptions. The Florida Second District Court of Appeal confirmed in interest of ZAR 351 and this was just in 2022. I'll have to look to see if that was turned over by the Supreme Court. I doubt it. That these two pathways are separate and distinct, and that a dependency court's retention of jurisdiction over a permanent guardianship case does not prevent a family court from hearing a private Chapter 63 adoption petition. Do you understand that? That a permanent guardianship case does not prevent a family court from hearing a private Chapter 63 adoption petition. Isn't that what I submitted? Oh, it is. It is. Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, Nana. Nana. Yep. Yep, it is. But I will look and see if this was reversed. because they found the exact argument the appellate court reversed, the same Lee County Dependency Court, the same statutory framework, and the same result. The family court has jurisdiction to hear the adoption petition. The family court has the jurisdiction, right? So courts, can we stop always having to be, oh, what is that word? What is that word? When you're a BITCH for DCF, because that's what the courts are. That's what they are. Yes, master, whatever you say. Yes, yes, my master. You're my master. DCF, you're my master. It gives these high school losers literally more control than the courts. How is that? How are all these mean girls getting that permission? You know what I mean? So I was hoping I could get, I asked if I could get placement of him this summer because he's probably going to have to be in school for another year. And uh, it's just got to be a fight. He ages out maybe at the age of 18. I don't know if he's still in school. It might be a little bit after that, probably a few months later. But then they got to kick him out once he's out of school. They're going to kick him out in a year. In a year. And I'm trying to have a place for him to come when that happens. Now, let me tell you about my grandson before I end this, because 10 years later, this is never going to stop breaking my heart. It's never going to stop breaking my heart. This child is my first grandchild, my firstborn's first child. He was so sensitive, like you could look at him funny and he'd cry. But he also was so excited. He loved um reptiles. My ex-husband uh is a reptile guy. And how he loves snakes, and my ex-husband, for I don't know, his sixth or seventh birthday, bought him a snake, which we took care of and for a while, and then you know we rehomed him because we just knew he wasn't coming back. At some point, he loved Transformers. I mean, I sent him an awesome birthday, set up an awesome Transformer birthday party for him when he, I think, 5. And it was a surprise party. He wasn't expecting it. And when he walked into my kitchen and saw the cake and everything, Transformers, he was so excited. I can still see his face like 12 years ago. I can still see the excitement on his face. Oh my gosh, people are so evil. He's been in a group home. They'd rather him be in a group home, and that's against the law. It's against the law. Kids are not supposed to languish in group homes, especially when there's adoptive parents that want them. And I'm not the only grandparent or parent with a broken heart because their children are being a pawn in a billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar industry. And we have to stop this. We have to stop this. So I will continue my fights. Part of this will be updating, talking about DCF tricks. And this is what this was. This is a DCF trick by rolling my independent petition for adoption into the dependency case and not telling me about it, not giving me any documents about it. But do you think I'm going to sit on this? No. Nope. Nope. I'm going to my mailbox tomorrow to see if I got a letter. I know I didn't. I can guarantee you I didn't. I'm going to request reconsideration of the closure. I'm going to give this case. I'm going to look up the case and see if it's been overturned. See what the status is. Shepherdize it, and I think it's good. I think it's a good case because I think that attorney would have updated their website. I think it's a good case. And anyways, and even if it isn't, I'm going to appeal it take it. I don't trust any of the DCAs because they're all corrupt. They're all corrupt. I don't trust any judge. I don't trust a single judge in the state of Florida, even a federal judge. They're all bought and paid for, or they're simps, or they just don't have a backbone to say, no, you're breaking the law. And I'll also be filing another 1983 against this set of actors, government actors, under color of law. Yep, it will be. I hope all these people are sitting in their rocking chair in old age, cursing my name. I really do. Well, I will be updating on all my court cases and this, and we'll see what goes on. Because the judge did not give me an ability to intervene. He could have. He could have set a hearing. He didn't. Or she. Because I can find women can be just as cold hearted as men when it comes to protecting children. And these children are not being protected. They're dying all the time. By who? Who has the final say? Who has the final say? Who's killing these children? I will talk to you all later. Thank you for coming.